I knew then her future was not going to be very bright, bruh. Now, a lot of people was kind of surprised by this. I'm not, because I know, you know what I'm saying? What she did to Caitlin Clark was completely unnecessary. And I'm here to tell you guys, she's living with that decision today because she is without a job.
Caitlin's cheap shot from Chennedy Carter. Clark was more than simply a foul. He was a complete collapse of her career. She is currently coping with the fallout without a job, damaged reputation and prospects in the WNBA that is barely surviving. One could argue that it was only a slight shove, but in actuality, the Chicago Sky didn't even think twice before cutting her off. Designation, no contract, only an express ticket to unemployment. Imagine going from a gifted individual to fully undesired during record time.
Breaking news hot off the press. It looked like the push that was heard around the world has cost WNBA player Chennedy Carter her career.
However, should we be shocked? Carter's career has been based on poor choices that have already damaged bridges, involving several teams, and this time 3 teams in 0 lessons was too much. Learned, and now she has no more options.
When Tyler Marsh did the press conference, he talked about Angel Reese, he talked about Cardoso, who I think is going to be a star in the WNBA, but he did not really mention Chennedy Carter at all, and that raised a lot of eyebrows.
Really? What did she anticipate happening to occur? You don't only thrust the face of the biggest star in the league, the WNBA, and anticipate leaving unharmed. Caitlin, not just any player, Clark is the biggest draw, is the league's golden ticket. In Carter and women's basketball, she simply transformed herself into the most radioactive free agent in the league. Teams are fleeing in the opposite direction.
I mean, that's clearly a foul, which was called. The question is, will they call it unnecessary? Chennedy Carter.
The moment was a total catastrophe for Carter, and we're going to describe in detail how it went down. The Indiana Fever versus Chicago Sky showdown was already agitated due to conflicting emotions. The stakes were obviously high, and Clark was, as usual, she dominated, and Carter was being grilled. And then unexpectedly, she totally lost it.
That push right there was that right there, I believe, was the push that altered her career. And I'm telling you right now, it is not looking good for Chennedy Carter.
She didn't simply commit a serious infraction. She immediately pushed Clark and yelled an exploitative, securing her place on all WNBA teams. The list was full on, so don't sign it. Meltdown, an impetuous choice. Even worse, because everyone was observing how the audience cheered the players on. One by one, the court was in disbelief. Every WNBA coach is mentally observing. Removed Carter's name from the list.
When she took it upon herself to put her filthy thug hands on WNBA player Caitlin Clark.
The video that was captured at that time is violent. The sound of the shock is noticeable. One scout emerged from the crowd, who was, according to courtside, I've never seen. Similar to that, it wasn't only the push. You could feel the excitement behind it. Observe the anger erupting. That's not what this league wants. And let's discuss Clark's response. Since that's what made this particular moment, you can make it even more unforgettable. Actually observe the bewilderment on her face. As though she was unable to understand what had just occurred, Clark acknowledged, I stood motionless for a second time, feeling the shove, and I simply thought, wow, that's amazing. That is Carter's issue with this. Wasn't merely a heated exchange. It turned into the pivotal moment.
For calling someone the B word while literally freaking winding up for a cheap shot. Yeah, that has to be taken into account. And then after the cheap shot, staring over and saying something before walking away. Like, you can't give, like, that is 3 separate technical foul occasions.
Because The true problem is that Carter wasn't merely. She was careless and unrepentant, which is. The crowd was what sealed her doom. Instantly increased the volume of her booing. Compared to what they had all night, each and everyone in the arena was aware of what they had. Simply saw, and it's not just fans. WNBA scouts executives who paid attention. And the building's decision makers. That evening, some of the most well-known figures in the sport was observing this catastrophe transpire in real time, and the response is not good.
Right.
You're jealous.
Bigger
that
rings.
was a Bush League play, and it needs to be addressed. That was a flagrant foul. That was unnecessary. Flagrant, anything deemed to be unnecessary. I need somebody to explain to me, why was that necessary?
1. A scout who helped with the signing. According to some of the league's best players, to put it plainly, there's more than simply the shove mindset, and in this league, we desire athletes that can withstand pressure, and Carter demonstrated the precise. You don't want that person on the other side. Taking charge of your franchise, let's face it. Caitlin Clark wasn't the only one Carter pushed. She pushed her own career to the brink. And it's unclear at this time if. Does anyone want to catch her on route? Down following that egregious cheap shot. Chennedy Carter had a fantastic chance. In order to mitigate the harm, she could have accepted responsibility, expressed regret, or at least acknowledged what occurred, but nope, she stood in, shrugged it off in front of reporters, and blatantly falsely claimed that I didn't say whatever was playing before running into Caitlin.
She turned to you a little bit after the fever
I
score.
answered no Caitlin Clark questions.
Did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. Kind of on the play before bumping in with Caitlin.
As y'all heard there, man, Chennedy Carter let it be known she was not answering any Caitlin Clark questions. And I'm telling you right now, she probably wished she should have, because she's without a job.
She briefly turned to face you. Following the Faye no K Clark. Did she mention anything to you about the questions? I'm not sure what she said. What do you think? To her, I didn't have time to finish the play before running into Caitlin, as you all heard, dude. Chennedy Carter informed everyone that she was refusing to respond to Caitlin Clark inquiries, and I'm telling you now, she most likely wishes she had, since she doesn't have a job.
Chennedy Carter had an incredible season for us last year, but in a statement provided by the Chicago Times, she's extremely talented and is a player that can impact the game at the highest level. In our league, we absolutely appreciate what she did for our team last year. However, we've made changes to our staff and will make changes to our rosters. Those changes impact Kennedy's fit on the team, so we wanted to give her the best opportunity as a free agent.
Honestly, that's what she said. No regrets, no. Simply put, accountability. Did she truly believe that if she was in denial, disregarding the issue, it would miraculously? Spoiler alert, it didn't disappear. Gone. Things have gotten much worse for you. Maybe thinking all well, but she's a good player, thus it should count for, you guessed it, something. When you're burning bridges, it doesn't. The Chicago Sky left and right made. When their general, the manager, made a shocking revelation regarding Carter's prospects with the squad, and, to put it mildly, it wasn't a ringing endorsement.
I mean, look, maybe she's part of the culture problem. But that's very interesting. You know, I assumed, I'm not going to lie to you, I assumed the Chicago Sky was going to bring her back.
The main desk of Sky didn't merely ask. They flat stated Carter's on-court value, denied her a place in their future plans. They demonstrated that she was a good fit for the. More important than her stat sheet was the team. And that code, ladies and gentlemen, because she's a nightmare in the locker room. But hold on, it gets more juicy. Recall Carter's dramatic companion Angel Reese is the one who was expected to bring her back, roughly. The rumor circulating is that even. How do we know that Reese is done with Carter? Well, Carter was unfollowed on social networking, and prior to launching your eyes and remark that it's only Instagram. Let's face it, in the modern world, slamming the digital equivalent of door in someone's face, resembling an enormous neon sign that flashes and shouts, "Locker." There will be room drama soon.
I said Chennedy Carter not getting an offer from the Sky means one thing. Someone influential in the locker room did not want her on the team. You never let your best offensive player and arguably your best player walk away from nothing unless there are locker room issues.
And there are more sources inside besides Reese. According to the Sky organization, several teammates have finished with Carter. Some even advocated for her to be. Can you picture it gone before the next season? In a moment, you should be a franchise star and your own next. Even your teammates don't want you in the construction, followed by the actual gut. The Chicago Sky did more than just bench Carter. They wouldn't even provide her with a, let that sink in, qualifying contract.
I mean, she can score. She can score with the lights out. I mean, she can. She's pure offense, a pure shooting guard, scoring guard, an instant offense. But if you're a team, do you really want her on the team? I wouldn't.
WNBA teams hardly ever allow their top scorers leave the field for. It's essentially unheard of, but with Carter, the Sky just said, "We would prefer to be alone than to have you around." That is cruel.
And everybody talk about other NBA, WNBA players not being appreciated. Nobody insulted them. Nobody dismissed their contribution. We were simply saying, despite the contributions for years and years and years, a lot of people didn't care. Fair or not, until Caitlin Clark came along.
And this is where things start to get. Some individuals are saying that it's crazy. This entire situation isn't solely about Carter's antics in the locker room, or even that push on Clark. It's about what is next for Caitlin. The WNBA itself considers it. Clark is more than just a player. Currently, the WNBA's greatest asset is attracting a crowd that breaks records, increasing television viewership, and maybe introducing improved negotiating agreement for each and every participant in the league.
There is no team wants the cancer in the locker room. Okay, so that raises a great question. Is anybody going to want her? Maybe that's the best question. I mean, certainly there's real attitude issues.
And Carter, she got into a quarrel with the golden goose of the league by pushing Clark. Was Carter right to shove herself, leaving the WNBA since at this time it appears that she is unrestricted, a player in her peak who is now a free agent. Teams are apparently still valuable, ought to be waiting in line to sign her. Incorrect. We consulted with insiders throughout what the WNBA told us was completely startling.
Is what Annie Cristobal stated as well. No qualifying offer sent out to Chennedy Carter means she will be a free agent to test the market as an unrestricted free agent beginning tomorrow.
One WNBA. When questioned, the executive didn't mince words. Regarding Chennedy Carter, they stated unequivocally, "We wouldn't use a 10-foot pole to touch her." This isn't just a random hot take on Twitter. This results from a real decision. Creator in the league, just picture being so poisonous to the point where franchises are unwilling to share a zip code with you, but it gets worse, so we dug a little and discovered a phrase in the contract that made it absurdly simple for the "if Chicago Sky dumps her, you may be considering this," which teams have contracts. Clauses aren't always like this.
And I'm telling you right now, a lot of people and a lot of owners is not finna pick her up because of her attitude.
Well, this wasn't your typical locate you if you fail to attend a practice session of clause that served as an integrated escape route, as if the Sky foresaw the impending catastrophe from a great distance and ensured that they had a short escape strategy. However, this is the actual inquire as to why the clause was included. First of all, it appears as though the Sky was aware from away that Carter was not only were they ticking time bombs, but wishing she would realize they were getting ready for the time she'd destroy themselves. And since we now understand that The time arrived sooner than anyone had anticipated, and her agent is now completely terrified. Mode.
Someone said, whoa, she must really had a bad attitude.
Imagine the scene. Frantic phone calls. Desperate emails pleading with all WNBA fronts. Office ready to answer the phone. Teams are pleading with them to give her another shot, claiming that she's changed. Spoiler alert, she learned her lesson. At this point, no one is buying it. Carter's career is unfolding in a heated potato game, but she's the potato, and each group is afraid to catch her, but don't worry, it gets worse yet. We've now learned that some teams aren't simply ignoring Carter. They're calling her a locker outright. Room cancer is more than just a warning sign. The entire red billboard has neon lights that flash in the center of Times Square's designation in professional sports. Cancer in a locker room is the kiss of being a little bit dead is one thing. Challenging, but when a whole league wants to play a game and has nothing to do with you, that's not just something to consider. That is a difficult pass from everyone.
Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark is the reason these ladies is potentially, allegedly, possibly about to get the biggest payday of their lifetime, with the NBA stepping in to help them get this new collective bargaining agreement potentially done. Then we got the media rights agreement done, which is like $3 or $2 billion. That money could possibly help them get larger contracts. And what Chennedy Carter put her filthy palms on Caitlin Clark did not help her case.
And that results in bringing us to the crucial query is, this is truly the last chapter in Chennedy Carter's WNBA career since, let's face it, she's talented, no one is denying that. However, skill only gets you so far when your reputation is this bad. It's like she's standing on the edge of a cliff, and instead of teams reaching out to save her, they're all taking a big step back.
Fever will have over 600,000 fans in attendance total this year, and the second best to that was in 1999 with the Washington Mystics at just over 400,000. So the Fever are going to account for over 200,000 more fans this year to their games than any other team.
However, here's where it gets even more interesting, because this isn't just about Carter. The reason everyone is making such a big deal about Caitlin Clark isn't just because of her skill. It's because she's literally changing the entire WNBA. Clark isn't just playing the game. She's reshaping the league, and we've got the inside scoop on why this matters so much right now. Clark's popularity is skyrocketing. It's not just casual fans tuning in. The league's biggest decision makers are taking notice. And why? Because Clark is bringing in eyeballs, revenue, and opportunities like no one else before her. More viewers means bigger TV deals, more money, and better contracts for every single player in the league.
Regular season, sales of WNBA merchandise are up over 500% versus the same period last year, with fan gear sales over the first half of the season at the highest in league history. Player-specific merchandise, including jerseys and t-shirts, have seen a staggering 1,000% increase in sales. Additionally, sales of league-specific merchandise like the popular orange WNBA hoodie are also up 200%. The top-selling WNBA player merch, Caitlin Clark, #1 in jersey sales, Angel Reese 2, Sabrina 3.
You might be thinking, okay, but can one player really change everything? The answer: absolutely. Clark's impact isn't just about basketball, it's about business. She's quickly becoming the face of women's basketball, and that translates into serious power.
But if you went the opposite direction, it could have helped that much and facilitated you being in an even stronger position to get yours. But you didn't do it. You didn't do it. Wow.
And here's where it really gets crazy. Players like Carter and Reese, they completely misread the situation. While Carter was shoving Clark out of frustration, Clark was shoving the entire WNBA into a new era. And right now, Clark is thriving. Carter, she's on the outside looking in.
Very rough. She's on, I believe, her third team, maybe fourth team. I think her third team. And if it's not her fourth team, she's already planning on her fourth team.
We just uncovered some explosive information about the ongoing negotiations for a new WNBA collective bargaining agreement. And guess what? Caitlin Clark's name keeps coming up now. Why is that? Simple. Her success and visibility are completely changing the game. Clark's presence isn't just drawing fans, it's forcing the league to rethink everything from player salaries to sponsorship deals and even how they handle player conduct. And here's where things get really interesting. Sources tell us that the WNBA is actively discussing stricter disciplinary rules. And yes, it's directly tied to that push incident.
Right now, it is not going to be an old happy day for Chennedy Carter tomorrow because she thinks that somebody's going to sign her. And I'm here to tell you, dog, I don't believe no team is going to touch her with a 12-foot pole. She is a diabolical locker room.
That's right, Carter didn't just make a bad decision. She may have single-handedly forced the league to crack down on player conduct. From what we're hearing, the WNBA wants to ensure that their biggest stars, especially players like Clark, are protected from unnecessary cheap shots and petty anti-IC. And let's be honest, it's about time the league knows that Clark is their most valuable asset right now. And what happened with Carter, that was a PR disaster waiting to happen. The WNBA doesn't just want to increase salaries, they want to maintain a positive image around their top players. So, what does this mean for someone like Carter? Well, let's just say it's not looking good. The message is crystal clear. If you push the wrong buttons, or in Carter's case, the wrong player, you might just find yourself pushed right out of a job.
Bringing more and more fans to this league, people that have maybe never watched the WNBA before, and it kind of takes your breath away at points.
And that's exactly what's happening. But let's shift back to Clark for a second because her impact goes far beyond rule changes. Experts are saying that players like Clark are literally reshaping the economic future of the WNBA. Think about it: bigger contracts, larger media deals, more sponsorship opportunities.
Such an incredible moment on a global scale for our game, for our players. It's like the fans are absolutely incredible. It's the same when we go on the road. Like, there's so many people that are showing up in fever gear. It's really affecting, teams all across our league, which is a really great thing. And, really, I think we're just scratching the surface.
Clark's popularity is like a rising tide, lifting all boats in the league, and the WNBA knows that they are actively using her star power as leverage in these negotiations to secure better deals for every single player. And just imagine the kind of pressure that puts on Clark. Her success isn't just about personal accolades. It could mean better pay, bigger endorsement deals, and improved conditions for every player in the league. One player, one star, redefining the entire future of the WNBA.